Enter the stars. And here we have it. Egypt is America. Now we're going to start with the obvious first. We're going to start with the slam dunks. And there's no room for stretching. It is what it is. This is the Nile Delta of Egypt and its ancient cities. Some of these names you'll recognize: Giza, Cairo, Alexandria. And as you look at this overlay, as I slowly bring it to life, you'll notice the Mississippi River becomes the Nile River. Now we're going to start, like I said, with the slam dunks. Cairo, Illinois; Memphis, Tennessee; Cairo, Egypt; Memphis, Egypt. There you see they are exactly where they should be on the map. And the other ones that I found was Tanis Crescent Street, right next to Tanis, Egypt. That was in Toronto. We also have Buteau Lake in Michigan, right where Buteau is in Egypt. We also have Alexandria, Minnesota, very close to Alexandria, where St. Mark, the apostle, brought Christianity to Egypt. Now those are the obvious. Now let's look at the not so obvious. And this is what takes critical thinking, because we also have other overlays. As you begin to look at this, you see Mississippi becomes Maydom, Louisiana becomes Lehun, May, Miss, Le, Luz, and Heraclopolis becomes Houston. Now, when we look in Texas, we see Dallas, and we see a little place in Dallas called Little Egypt, Texas. And I did some research on Little Egypt, Texas, and this is what I found. You see, the big joke is that none of us were ever free. We were just sold into a different kind of bondage. The dollar. Yes, the dollar. We've never been free in this country. Taxes have always plagued us, forcing us to live in grids, taking away farmers' rights to be self-sufficient and trade with one another without the beasts having their dirty, grubby little hands in the middle of it. This is Little Egypt, Texas, an African-American community in Texas founded after the Civil War. It was located within the Dallas city limits north of Northwest Highway. Now I've mapped this out in Google Earth. It's 35 acres in size, and basically this town, they admit, was all about giving the freed slaves another place to go to. And they talk about the biblical story of the exodus of the Jews who were freed slaves from Egypt. So if they were freed slaves from Egypt, why would they put them in a town called Little Egypt? You see, since then, all the residents have basically sold out and went into other areas. There was no water supply in Little Egypt. They did build a church. And this is Little Egypt, Texas. 35 acres, right at the edge of Dallas, the north edge. Little Egypt, Texas. So I dropped this overlay of what Little Egypt used to look like. And here it is here. Some dirt roads, no plumbing. This is where the slaves lived. We thought that they were free, only to enter into another financial system that would enslave them all. Now here is what else we know. This town here, Markanda, is where the eclipses of 2017 and 2024 will cross. Markanda was called the Star of Egypt. Now, we know that this area in southern Illinois is also called Little Egypt, fitting right in to this whole storyline. We also see over here the Red Sea, which seems to follow the coastline of the East Coast. You can't make this up. This is what's going on here, you guys. And it's simply unbelievable. Yes, the Red Sea is following the coastline of the East Coast. So now when I tell you that the World Trade Center is laid out like the pyramids at Giza, you know what I'm talking about. Now it begins to make sense to you. Look at World Trade Center, and we see that these three buildings, the World Twin Towers and the new Freedom Tower, are laid out like the Belt of Orion and the pyramids at Giza. And we also begin to understand now why the World Trade Center footprint has always been, since its construction in 1973, has always been aligned to 119 degrees, which is 9/11 backwards. They always knew this day was coming. And the final nail in the coffin. Where are the pyramids, Casey? On the map. Where are the pyramids on the map? They are almost exactly where they should be, at Monk's Mound, in close proximity to Giza, as you can see here. And in fact, Monk's Mound is roughly the same size at its base as the Great Pyramid of Giza. And there you go. You can't make this up. You can't stretch this. It is what it is. And this is the truth. Now the question becomes, what were many of these things built? Who were they built by? They were built by the Native Americans. Did you know that the Cherokee Indians were known as giant hunters in their oral tradition? And now we see that there possibly could be a concrete link between the Native Americans and one of the Hebrew tribes that came out of the Exodus, because they recreated much of this ancient Egyptian landscape within their own new landscape in the New World. Take care and be safe, you guys.